Hi, this is Monique Hall. Back with you, recounting my experience as a three-time heart attack survivor, successive heart attacks. I went through other people's reactions in episode 6. This episode, I wanted to focus on some of the more technical things that I experienced as I became more alert and aware of my situation, and also going into some of the other visitations that I received. The immediate thing that I realized, and I think I've mentioned this a few times because it's um, such a traumatic part of the experience, um, pardon me, was being on a ventilator. Um, there are many PSAs, messages, commercials in this age of COVID that um, trigger the heck out of that, and it's been torture, quite frankly. Um, I mentioned that it wasn't handled in the most ideal situation, and I think even if it happened, I would have suffered what is called throat paralysis. And today is a good day for me to display what that's like. My voice will kind of just leave me. It's like you're hoarse all the time. Um, Sometimes, some days are better than others, um, but it's just that because of the ventilator, the apparatus, the tubing that's used to go down your throat. Um, Unless you're out and it's put in a very passive manner, um, I guess it minimizes the amount of damage. But since I was in the throes of struggling with my heart attacks, they had to get the respirator down me. Sorry, the ventilator tubes, a respiration device, as quickly as they could so that the machine could start breathing for me as my heart um, failed and kept failing. Um, at times, that was the only thing that as I understand it, was keeping my brain activity going. I was also suffering from fevers where my body temperature had to be kept um, intentionally low. I believe my husband mentioned that. As I became more aware of my surroundings, just at the very earliest stages, I do remember having ice packs all around my body, and it, and like you said, I'm always thinking about other people. It made me think about my sister Stacy. When she was a newborn, she developed a very high fever, and I remember the story about her being put into this tub of ice cubes. um, so that remedy, the technique may be different, but the practice is still done. And the funny thing is, I hate being cold. I don't like cold air, like on me or anything. I never have. Maybe from the time I was first diagnosed as a diabetic, um, even then they knew that I needed to be kept warm. It was on this little card that we have forever. My mom and I, after I was discharged from the Naval Hospital, Uh, so the fact that I had all these ice packs around me and it didn't bother me or faze me was a testimony to um, how much of a fever I was running, and how dangerous of a situation I was in. Too high of a fever can damage your brain, and lack of oxygen is a contributor to brain damage. I'm actually awaiting a neuropsychology evaluation just to determine how much there was. Initially, my husband was told that I would definitely have brain damage, but the gravity of it remained to be seen. And as I mentioned, my poor husband, Chris, was sitting there thinking my wife's going to potentially be a vegetable or have difficulties functioning. And I'm in there thinking in my mind in like real time, going, wait, wait. I still have it. I can still think it at the very least. I don't know what I can do physically because I can't move my body, but my mind is here. Um, so again, I was on the ventilator for days, and I think it's 3 full days. Um, they were hoping to get me off on the second day, but after doing a test, they turned off the ventilator, and I think they probably saw my eyes open real big at that point. Um, I tried so hard to breathe on my own. I was so weak, I couldn't. And it just, the percentage kept going down and down and down. So that carrot of being able to breathe on my own and have just that little bit of independence was taken away. So that that Wednesday, or was it Thursday, was very sad for me. But I accepted it and looked at it as more time for me to become stronger. And eventually I got there. Everything, from the time that I woke up to when the ventilator was extracted, was body language and interpretation. I could make hand gestures, and thank goodness I had some nurses that were pretty well experienced in dealing with patients in that situation, where they could make some safe assumptions, and then I could indicate yes or no. And of course, with my husband knowing me, he could help with the communication. Um, During that time, I did not want, and I somehow conveyed to Chris that I did not want Grayson to see me in that situation, nor did I want my mother to see me like that. The whole experience was traumatizing enough for a 10-year-old, having been there when everything was happening, and my mother being a stroke survivor. I was not wanting my experience to complicate her health at all, if I could help it. So he obeyed my wishes with that. My sisters, Trisha and Stacy, they, I think, initially were my primary visitors other than Chris. I think Trisha decided to step back from the frequency of the visits so that I could get rest. The nurse I had during that period made sure to let them know that it was crucial for me to get that amount of rest. My sister Stacy, she continued, and I think both decisions were good. I guess it depends on the person and the situation. I appreciated my eldest sister for giving me the time to rest because it was incredibly important, but I appreciated my middle sister Stacy for keeping that presence going, and just seeing additional family met everything. And when I did finally get to have the device taken out, it was frightening. It was terrible because one of my biggest fears is not being able to breathe, and they prepare you for it, and the respiratory nurse and doctor, they were both outstanding. I had very little faith that I was going to be able to do it and hold my breath as long as they needed, or that I was going to be able to do the process and be without air as long as it was required. The movies make it seem really simple, that you just yank this thing out, you cough a little, and then you go fight the bad guys. Well, it is not that simple. They walked me through, counted down, pulled it out, and I swear it seemed like it took an eternity for the tubing to come out, but they were trying to minimize the amount of damage of the device coming out that potentially it caused going in. So they did do that, and they were successful with that, but the amount of coughing and the weakness that I felt in my chest, it was just another experience to let me know how dire my situation had been and how much further I had to go. I found myself, and I think I did this for quite a while after, just pushing my chest out and allowing it to take in as much air as possible. With patients in that type of situation, they have these breathing devices where it kind of conditions your lungs to take in air, and you need to meet a certain mark and do it so many times a day, and I did do that, and I do breathe quite well now, and I think that there wasn't very much need after that point for any therapy. I didn't have to go back for any additional therapy other than the breathing training that I got through cardiac rehab, and that will be a whole nother episode down the road. But being liberated from the ventilator was a gift. It was a blessing. It was validation that I was coming back and that I was a fighter, like I had been trained to be my entire life. One dealing with one chronic illness that had something to do with this one potentially. I don't know that it's ever been said to me in a doctor's visit that it was 100% diabetes related, or if it was just kind of like a freak accident. But I am coming to the end of my time right now. I may recap a little bit on the next episode, but just don't take for granted every breath you take. And I do again hope that these videos are helpful for family members or people that have gone through this type of situation. Bye-bye.